Hello everyone and welcome to Contention version 2.0. This is a massive update that has just dropped, but nicely, although it's got the 2.0 name, it's still the same Contention we know and love, the same ethos, the same general gameplay, just with absolutely everything tuned and improved, and I am really excited to put a lot of time into this. Now, today's video is just going to be a general overview to give everyone an idea of what is in this patch, what has changed, what has stayed the same. Certainly, the new systems are going to require guides, and those will be coming. I am not going into a full step-by-step guide in this one, mostly because I don't want this video to be an hour long. And with that in mind, let's jump in to the first major update. So the biggest thing, and the thing that has taken by far the most work in all of this, is also the thing you're probably not going to notice that much, although it is going to be changing pretty much everything and enables everything else that they've changed. And that is the complete rewriting of all of the scripting. Previously, Contention, like many other DCS servers, made use of multiple different scripts such as CTLD, Moose, Mist. These are fantastic scripts. I use them in my own missions. They have given us a lot of fun here, but all of them do have their issues, especially when you start piling them all together. And importantly, none of them were built for Contention in mind. So what the devs behind Contention have done is they've gone and rewritten everything. This script no longer uses any other third-party scripts. This is their Archetype Framework version 2.0, completely written from the ground up, purely for Contention servers. So what does that mean for you, the player? Well, on the whole, not a lot immediately. We still have the same general idea of the systems. Contention is still going to work on the same general basis. If you're pushing the front, you're capturing various bases and outposts, trying to push the enemy back. Mix of air to ground, air to air. You're going to be able to do logistics, things like that. All of that is staying the same. However, all of that should work a lot more smoothly now. Notably, this should really help with stability and performance. We've all been there in a dogfight, especially when it's very, very busy on the server, and we get a server hiccup. No, it's a server hiccup because everyone you're on voice comms with all gets alarmed at the same time as their game freezes for a second. That's the worst thing in the world when you're in the middle of a dogfight and all of a sudden the other guy's disappeared. That was being caused mostly by all of these scripts all fighting each other over space in the background. By rewriting the script, they've managed to space that out, so they're not all trying to run at the same immediate time, but they're spread out a bit better, easing the server load, and so hopefully all of those glitches, all of those little jumps are a thing of the past. Now, compared to some servers, Contention was already a really good performing server in terms of the amount of units it could handle because of the culling system, and that's just gotten even better now. So the devs really want this to be the best performing of these large-scale servers with so many ground units and still want it to be playing absolutely smoothly. On top of that, this should ease with a whole load of edge case bugs that have been in the background for quite a while, and just in general work better with all these systems. All of the different systems, the logistics, the troop transport systems, the FAC recon and so on, those used to all be different scripts written for different purposes that were kind of wedged together and forced to work, and they didn't like working with each other, and it's a real nightmare. Now all of this is the same system that's been brought together, and so hopefully everything works a lot more smoothly, a lot more polished, a lot more integrated right off the bat. And all of that does also let the developers take full control over these systems, and the part of that that I am most excited for is the new troop deployment system. So CTLD, as we all know and love, that is out, and instead it has been replaced with the troop deployment system that is part of this whole framework. On the whole, this works in a very similar way. You pick up crates at your captured airfields, you take them outside of the airfield, you drop off the crates, you can put down ground units. Those ground units can then go and do their own thing. The new system has some really, really exciting things. One of the big ones that I know a lot of people are going to be happy with is it's going to let us use heavy lift aircraft, is what the developers have called it. The Chinook, the Mi-8, the C-130 can now carry multiple crates, and that makes these logistics-focused aircraft actually worthwhile bringing. Now, one thing that held that back for a long time is the desire to not want anyone to have pocket rockets, is the term they keep using. The idea that they don't want a helicopter to be able to land, poop out a IR-SAM, and then just slap the aircraft that was about to attack it. That's not really fun for anybody. So to fix that, what they've done is we have different classes. We've got light armor, heavy armor, and AAA. And so although those heavy lift aircraft can carry 2 crates instead of the normal 1, they can only carry 1 of each category. So you can't take 2 light armor crates, and importantly, you can't take 2 AAA crates. This means that one individual cannot drop down 2 IR-SAM crates and insta-spawn a Strela all on their own. They still have to make 2 trips or work as a team. What they can do is transport more at a time, so they can pack half of a Strela, and they can also pack part of a tank that's going to give it some short-range defense. Take them both to site, drop them off, go back. They're still effectively carrying twice as much as the other helicopters, but hopefully without any kind of exploiting nonsense there. Another big feature of the new TDS system that I want to highlight comes down to this fact that it's a lot more simplified, but in a good way. Everything's a little bit more streamlined and just works a little bit better. Importantly, before, when you were dropping off your various parts of a given SAM site, you had to take specific ones. You had to take the track radar, then you had to take the search radar, then you had to take the launcher. The number of crates you had to take were directly related to the type of things that were required. And importantly, you had to keep track of all of that, especially if you're working with others. You had to make it very clear, I'm taking the launcher, you take the track radar. And we've all been there where we messed that up and we delivered 2 track radars and no search radar and we can't spawn it. All of that's out. All of those sites just have one type of crate. They'll need a certain number to deploy, so you might need to still drop 5 crates for a Hawk site, for example. But they are just Hawk crates. You just put them all down together. Once you've got enough there, you can deploy it. Makes that a lot smoother. Equally, there is no more spawning this crate in front of your aircraft, just for you then to have to go back into the menu to load it. The crates are just automatically put onto your aircraft when you spawn them. Again, just saving you some time there, making things a little bit smoother. On top of this, one really big thing that has changed here is crates can be unpacked as groups instead of just as individual units. So we could already sort of do that with like SAM sites, but if you wanted, say, a group of IFVs, each one would be an individual unit. They would be on their own in terms of things like TACCOMs needing to path them. They would have to path each one individually. Now, though, you can unpack them all as a unit. They can be controlled as a single group and move around. And that gives you lots more options there, particularly with using ground vehicles as offensive firepower. While I'm on the topic of pathing, one massive thing that they've added is the ability for players to path vehicles from the air. You no longer have to go into a TACCOM slot to path vehicles. You no longer need combined arms to do that. Just when you're in your aircraft, when you're in your helicopter having just dropped off that tank, you can then set its path. You do this using a /path command, where you drop down a map marker, give it the name /path, space, and then the name of the group that you have just dropped down, and that group will path that way, and it does so nice and intelligently. It'll use roads for a certain distance and jump off of roads. All nice, all integrated. I will certainly be doing a guide on that in the near future, just wanted to mention it here. Another really fun thing that they've added here is because of all of this integration, the C-130 is able to use its inbuilt DCS cargo dropping system that ties directly into TDS. Again, this is going to need its own little guide video, but pretty much you can just spawn units, load them in using the DCS system from a friendly airfield. You then go take them off, drop them out the back, and then when they land, if they have survived the parachute, they will then be active. So you can use C-130s to, say, deliver light vehicles right there to the front line without having to, land a C-130 on the front line. FOBs have also been massively overhauled, so these can now rearm and refuel. We can put these down in lots of different areas. We can upgrade their HQs to make them a little more sturdy, so you can essentially create your own little forward base for all of your helicopter operations. The JTAC system has also been overhauled. Essentially, you drop down a Humvee or a Tiger, and you can then use the in-game JTAC menu to control that, doing things like saying what laser code that JTAC is to use, what smoke markers it can use. You can set it to target different buildings, which is really, really nice. So if you're really wanting to knock out that Roland position, you can get the JTAC to target the Roland without having to go through the 3 support trucks that the JTAC has decided are higher priority targets. And again, this can be done from the air. You don't need the tactical commander slot to be doing this. And all in all, this is absolutely great. This, for example, lets you use laser-guided bombs without a targeting pod, so Contention Cold War just got a lot more interesting. One last thing I want to mention while I'm on the topic of this new troop deployment system is one thing I really like is now, because the crates are correctly tracked from where they were spawned, you can now unpack them in friendly areas. You still need to leave the area that they were spawned in, and you can't simply go back in the area they were spawned in, but you can, for example, take off from an airfield, fly to a nearby FARP, and put down a SAM system on that FARP itself. So this lets you directly reinforce those sites. And again, this is all sorts of checks and balances, so you can't exploit this. You can't simply drop off a crate where you spawned. Equally, because of that system, it means if the airfield flips tags, so if it gets neutralized, you can't put it straight back down again afterwards. So people can no longer spawn, get a crate, wait for the airfield to be neutralized, then drop the crate and insta-recapture it. So all in all, leading to some new options and getting rid of some exploits. So really excited for that. So yeah, the troop deployment system is what I'm really excited about, but there are all sorts of other changes. One that has been requested quite a lot is more weather variation, and there will be now randomized weather or semi-randomized weather. The season, the weather, the time of day is all going to change. There is going to be an inbuilt preference for more clear skies. But there will be random weather now, so sometimes it will be snowing, sometimes it will be raining, sometimes it will be scattered, and so that's going to vary what things are going to look like. Kind of going hand in hand with that is that they've added all sorts of navigation system to the maps, so things like TACAN, NBD, those all work now. You can use those to navigate around. Since the splash damage script got axed, they've put in a new splash damage script. Again, it does the same kind of thing, but can all be tuned a little bit nicer. Important to note is it only applies to non-guided weapons. Guided weapons are going to have smaller explosive radius, and so are your more snipey weapons. Your big dumbfire bombs are the ones that have your big, huge radius. And hopefully that'll mean that on modern servers, there is still a point to use those dumbfire weapons if you just want to cause absolute carnage. AWACS has also been modified a little bit. The E3 now has 15-minute cooldown before it can be spawned again after being shot down. So it is worth going after that to give yourself a little bit of an advantage. Really importantly, though, the E2, the one that players can spawn in manually, that can be pathed. Again, you put down a map marker and you write /E2 path, and the E2 will head to that new location. The reason for this is a lot of players have been really badly using the E2. Players are very, very cautious about it, tend to hold it really far back to the point that it's not actually assisting the E3 in any way. The E3 has more coverage than this thing. And so by letting other players move this forward, you can push that closer to the front line, actually have a use of that E2. It's meant as this aggressive front-line unit. It is meant as a target. It will get shot down. To help with that, it now only costs 15 credits, and so you can really buy these things quite cheaply. But of course, since it's flying in from the back, there is still a point of shooting this down. It will open up your side a little bit while the new one needs to spawn in and fly over. Speaking of radar, one very important thing is the radar systems have been rearranged. They're now very visibly distinct from each other. Notably, the blue big radar is now the domed radar. The one that was the old blue 4 radar is now the red 4 big radar. This just makes it kind of more coalition correct, and importantly makes it very, very clear and visually distinct. Do just be careful, check your kneeboards about what is the actual new targets. The big one for me is the FAC system. I really like the FAC system, and this has just been really nicely smoothed out. It used to basically regenerate itself every 30 seconds, which meant if you caught it between a regeneration, your commands went weird and it just started calling in random things. This is why you would sometimes try and call artillery down on the target just to start lasing it for the next 60 seconds. It's all been redone. It's a lot smoother now. You just get your choice of 5 targets and you can just much more quickly interact with that. It's much more consistent about where the various orders will be. And so it's going to be easier to integrate with things like voice attack scripting. Again, just taking the old system and just making it work just a bit better, a bit smoother. Now, I did mention kneeboards there. There are brand new kneeboards fitting in with the new art style. Those will all be automatic. You don't need to do anything. You just right Shift K to bring up the kneeboard. They'll all be there with all the new info and important bits and gubbins. You can also download it off the website if you want that for your own notes and purposes. And the very last thing I want to bring up before trying to wrap this video up is the new Contention live map. If you go to live.strikepackagestudios.com, you get a lovely little map of what is going on right now on the server, including the states of all of the various objectives, all of the various airfields that you can spawn at, things like the weather, when the next server reset is going to be, are all nicely displayed there, along with things like player listing. So you could kind of get this before with the Discord. It was always a bit fiddly to get at, never looked fantastic. Now we've got this lovely map that we can zoom in, scroll around, really, really nice. Just a nice little quality of life feature there, and that's going to make it a lot easier for people deciding when is best to jump on. And that is where I'm going to call my overview for today. So a lot is being brought together. Now, as I said, I will be doing new guides. There are a lot of new systems that are going to need full guides. I'm going to start with the troop deployment system. Hopefully that will be coming out a week from this video releasing. Then I also want to do other specific ones on the C-130. Going to need to enlist a little help on that one. Looking at the pathing system, things like that I want to dive back into, kind of refreshing my list of beginner guides to cover everything, both for existing players who are trying to work out what the new system is like, and for brand new people coming over. Now, by all means, do leave comments down below giving me your impression on what's going on here. If you like these changes, if there's anything you want more details on, do just note that I am not directly related with Contention. I think they're a great bunch of people, and they do give me some nice sneak peeks and things like that. But if you are looking to give feedback to the developers directly, please do so on their Discord server. Though if you're angry with these changes and you just want to rant, by all means put them down below. Engagement is engagement. But yeah, I am really excited about all of this. I hope you are too, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, remember to be kind to yourselves and everyone else. Cheers.